Hello, everybody. I'm Travis Edrington. I'm with AJ Sanders.
What's up, y'all?
He just kept smiling the whole time I was driving. I kept it in between the lines, and I think it made him proud. Well, he didn't say nothing in the passenger seat. He said it all sitting there by me. Yeah, I learned about life for every mile we went through. That's what a Chevy and a daddy can do.
What's the earliest memory of you hearing, knowing that you wanted to do music for a living?
Oh, man. I was kind of late getting into the career, but I remember we have some family up in Mount Olive, North Carolina, and it's like a 3-hour drive from Hartsville, and which is my hometown in South Carolina. And my parents popped a Alan Jackson CD in, and I played Chattahoochee. Actually, I take that back. It was earlier than that, showed my age a little bit. It was when they had like the 8 cassette track tapes, and you had to rewind with your finger, you remember? I would play Chattahoochee and then pop it out, rewind it with my finger, and the entire 3-hour trip up there. I remember us listening to that song nonstop. So that's, when I heard that song, I was like, man, that's something I could definitely do, and it kind of evolved from there over time. But man, I was basically a sports guy.
Okay.
I figured I'd be on the PGA Tour or playing baseball or something, but kind of ended up falling in the line of music, and it's been pretty nice, man. Fun.
What happened to doing the sports?
So it's a weird story. So so I used to do a lot of mini tours. Going up, I think I told you last night we were hanging out. I played a lot in Florida, up and down the East Coast, South Carolina to Virginia and back down, and what ended up happening was the way it works is it's very similar to music. You're kind of at a point where you're almost living out your car nonstop. You're always on the road, and you pay a certain amount of money, and if you win a little bit back. But if you don't win, you don't really win anything. So you're trying to make it to this next level so you can get paid and can support yourself. And eventually, I just didn't play right at the right time, and I was playing music a little bit on the side and writing on the road to kind of kill time or whatever. And I ended up looking at it like, well, I'm getting paid to play music for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm enjoying writing, so I kind of rerouted back that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You say you're from Hartsville. Mm-hmm. Where's that at exactly?
Any race fans out there, Darlington Raceway, I'm like 10 minutes away from it. I'm literally like a 2-hour drive from everything. So between Myrtle Beach, Charlotte, Greenville, Columbia, it's all like an hour to 2 hour drive. Yeah, so it's literally like, if you look at the state, it's literally like the heart of South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's your single "What I See" about?
So that's actually about my wife. I wrote that song. We were watching football probably 3 years ago. We were watching college football, and she was on the couch with sweatpants, sweatshirt, hair in a mess. And I just remember looking at her, no makeup, looking at her, I was like, man, you look good. And any girl out there is like, oh, shut up. Blah, blah. So I ended up picking my guitar up a little bit later that night and came up with a little bit of a riff, and sent it to my producer, Bridget Tatum. And the next day we actually had to write, so whenever I sat down, I was like, man, I've had this line stuck in my head all night, like if she could see what I see. And she kind of hummed out something. I said she wouldn't be with me, and then we kind of took it from there. That's kind of how that set up. Yeah.
Okay.
If she could see what I see, then she wouldn't be with me. 'Cause I'm the lucky guy that gets to hold her hand. And I don't know why I won't ever understand. And I can't believe I get to be her man. If she could see what I see, that she wouldn't be with me. And she's like looking at the stars.
Do you think that you're too good for her?
I don't know, man. I got my flaws. I wouldn't say that, man. It's just, I'm kind of set in my ways. So I hang out too late and drink too much sometimes. I cuss too much sometimes, and it's one of those things where, you know, what you see is what you get. Like, I'm straight up. I mean, you saw last night, like, that's me whether I'm at a show backstage or hanging out with fans, or if you just see me at a writer's round, like, that's just me straight up. So it's how I am, man. Yeah.
Did you actually have a girl cheat on you with your best friend? And
honestly, yeah. Yeah. Dude, I come from a small town, so it's kind of, everyone back home knows it, man. You kind of like dated the same people, and you know, it wasn't a bad thing, but I mean, a lot of friendships were ruined because of how the love triangle ended up working out. Yeah.
How did you find out about that?
Just friends, man, just word of mouth, dude. Like, you can't hide anything in that town. I still, like, hey guys, you know, when you see this interview, you know what I'm talking about. I still hear stuff from back home all the way up here, and I don't even live there anymore. Like, that's how it just revolves. Like, it's crazy, man. You can't hide anything in that town. Anything. Mm-mm.
So I'm guessing your best friend didn't you guys aren't friends anymore?
Well, nah, we are. Man, it's dude. I've run into a couple of those situations. Actually, like it. You look back, like, especially whenever you're younger, like in high school and stuff. You look back now and you're like, oh man, like, how stupid were we, man? We got in this huge fight over that girl. Are you serious? Like, you know what I mean? So I mean, you hold grudges for a little while, but eventually you grow up and you're like, man, I don't care.
Were you close with your dad? Because you made it seem that way in your single Chevy and Daddy.
Yeah. So actually, the second verse is actually about my dad. So the entire thing about me hitting the dash, like, that really did happen. I can't remember if it was like a golf tournament or a baseball game. It was something, but I remember getting mad and I punched the dash of, my mom had a Pontiac van at the time, and I punched it, and dude, I put a crater in the dash of this thing, and I remember them being so mad at me, but that's actually where that came from in that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when he said that you're still a boy and not a man? And how old were you at that time?
He said that a lot. He said that a lot, actually. I remember in high school, what did he say? I think I had a 400EX, a Honda 400EX four-wheeler. We were out there, like, changing the oil or something, and I remember we got in an argument about something. He was like, man, you know, you keep on acting like that, you just gonna stay a boy forever, blah 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 blah. I was like, man, screw this, man. I'm a grown man, you know, whatever. But you know, growing up a little bit later in life, you realize, like, now I understand what he was saying. I got you, like. But man, he still says that to this day. He still says that to this day.
Was he a mechanic?
Nah, actually, my granddad was a mechanic. So my dad did a lot of electrical work for a company in our town called Sunoco. Not the gas company. It's like a papering company. But it's one of the 3 places pretty much everyone in town works. He was an electrician. But the mechanic side that I come from was my granddad. He was a mechanic in Greenville, South Carolina. And he actually grew up on the dirt tracks with Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty before NASCAR was ever a thing. So, like, I'd sit there with, like, all my toy cars on Sunday and race them like they were around a track, watching the race with him, and he would just tell me stories. Like, hell, I can't even remember half of them. Sorry for cussing, by the way. I can't remember half of them now. It's been so long, but man, he's just, you know, I remember Dale doing this, but back at the track up in North Carolina, blah blah blah. And at the time, you don't realize, you know, you see those guys on TV, and you know, when you're 5 or 6 or younger, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, you don't realize what that means. But now, again, being older, you know, you see Richard Petty, or you know, even when Dale Earnhardt died, like, that broke my heart. I think I was 5th or 6th grade when that happened, and we watched that race, and they announced later. I remember crying that night because, like, that was my guy. That was why I watched racing, was because of him. So, like, knowing that my granddad actually personally knew them, it brings it to a whole different level at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How old were you when they let you first drive?
Man, I don't know the exact age. I was probably 3 or 4. And I actually do that with my daughter now. So what we do is and that's actually where the entire concept of that song came from, Chevy and Daddy. It was based off of, you know, me sitting in some, their lap, or like where you couldn't touch the pedal, you had to stand up, and they'd let you drive, or they let you think you were driving. They'd have their hand down here helping you steer. But that little last like quarter of a mile to the house where they knew nothing was, no traffic or anything, they would let me drive. So I'm pretty sure I was probably 3 or 4 whenever I first got to actually get behind the wheel. So
Yeah, I feel like that's probably around the time that my dad let us get in the driver's seat
Yeah,
and
exactly.
steer the rest of the way home.
yeah, it's fun, man. The good memories, man. That doesn't happen too often now. That's why I'm trying to incorporate it with my little girl. Like she's a 1.5, and I'll sit there with her in like the parking lot and just sit her in my lap, and she'll do like this thinking she's driving. I'm like, one day I'm gonna get you on a dirt road and I'm just gonna let you steer by yourself. You're gonna love it. Yeah.
Growing up, did you go four-wheeling, mudding, etc.? Because I got that vibe when you for your song where we belong.
Yeah, actually, dude, that was kind of it didn't talk a lot about my hometown, but the whole concept of where we belong came from my hometown. We've got a place called the Clay Pit, and I used to live like literally right around the corner from it. And all it is this huge, just dugout hole. And the guy that owns it, he uses it for, how can I put it, like leveling off land. So if you bought a lot, he would go dig up and take dirt over there to level it off, or build it up, or like the foundations or anything. So they would dig this thing out, and we had things called like the Rainbow. We'd go up on the side of the walls and all this stuff, and we had trails from my hometown all the way to Chesterfield, which was like a 30-minute ride. Like we could go I bet you we could probably go 50 miles if we wanted to on those four-wheelers, just backwoods and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, my grandparents owned 20 acres in the Ocala National Forest. So back then we were able to get on the four-wheelers and drive the trails, but now you can't do that.
And they block them off now. Like I'm sure people still go ride, but not like we used to do. We'd have 50, 60 people out there every single day. Like we would get up at like 8 in the morning. I know Andy and Patrick and those, and Clint, shout out to you guys. They'll remember this, man. We used to get up at like 7 and 8 in the morning, and we'd all hop on our four-wheelers, and we would meet at a place called the Stoplight. It was about probably 10 miles up the road, and we'd go up there, eat breakfast every morning, gas our four-wheelers up, say hey to the cops on the way out. That's what we did every morning all summer, man. So it was good times, dude.
You knew we're gonna take it slow, lay it back and let it all go. Put some country on the radio, light it up and let it roll on. And keep it rolling on all night long, till the smoke and the drinks all gone. And being us and right where we belong.
What advice would you give somebody who recently lost a parent or a loved one?
That's a tough one, dude. Man, I tell you what, the best advice I can give you is just realize, I don't know if I'm not sitting here trying to preach religion on anyone, your thing's your thing. I do believe in God. I would say that it's tough to see what His plan is, but you have to trust His plan. And I know I'm going to run into that. Like I told you, my dad's still around and all that stuff, and my mom and all that. The song that I wrote with Chevy and Dad was about my granddad, so I went through that, and that one didn't really hit me that hard. The toughest one I went through was a buddy of mine named Cody, who was my age, and I'm pretty sure he OD'd, but I remember we got a call from Coastal Carolina. When I was at Coastal Carolina, we got a call that he had passed away, and got permission from my teachers and all this stuff. And me and my buddy go back home to go to the funeral. And it was perfectly fine. Like I didn't even cry at my granddad's funeral because it was it was like a natural thing. Like he got old and he had a lot of health problems, so we kind of saw it coming. I remember walking into Cody's funeral, and when we got in there, my mom was like, hey, do you want to go say bye to him one more time? I was like, yeah, whatever. And as soon as I got up to the casket, man, I remember looking, I just bawled like I fell down. All my friends had to come get me, and I was just like, man, I just don't understand. Like, he's so young. He's never gonna have like experience having kids. He's never gonna get married. Like, he's never gonna get experience all this stuff. And that's whenever my mom and dad were like, because I was still bawling in the car when we got in the car, and they were like, man, you have to trust God's plan. Just trust God's plan and just realize that you can't beat yourself up on something you can't control. And I mean, again, I'm not trying to preach religion on anybody out there by any means, but just keep your faith and just know that it happened for a reason. We will see them again eventually, but it happened for a reason, and just realize that reason's a lot bigger than we understand. So that's probably as deep as I could probably get on that. So.
What is the population in the town that you grew up in?
So I'm pretty sure it says it's like 8,000 to 10,000. It says that, but it's not that at all. I mean, it's a small town, but it's very spread out.
Okay.
So I don't really know how they quite. I could be completely wrong. I'm sorry, guys, if I got that wrong. But dude, it's literally a town. Like my graduating class was, I think, 200 maybe. Something like that. I mean, it's not a small town, but it's not a huge town. But everybody knows everybody. You know where everybody lives. I mean, you know everybody's parents. You know everything about that town. So it's I'm pretty sure I got the population right, but I might not have. Might not have.
Yeah, I know my graduating class was over 550 people.
Man.
Our high school had like 2,500 people.
Yeah. I want to say we might have had. You know what? My graduated class might have been 400. I could have that wrong. I want to say we got like 2,500 to 3,000 kids at our school, something like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was just one school, and you had at least three or four other schools in the county.
Man, that's similar to ours. But like I said, like our town's very similar in the fact that, like, we've got three schools. It's Hartsville, we've got Lamar, and we've got Darlington, and there's also a school called Mayo, which if you can get in, it's like a little bit higher learning type thing. But if you can get into that school, you can pick one of those three schools. So sports-wise, like Lamar was killing state championships at the time. So a couple of people actually went and played football for Lamar.
Okay.
So you could actually do that even though you lived in Hartsville if you had the option to be at this one school. So we've still got like the 3 or 4 schools like within the zone. And that's where I think some of that population comes from. Cause
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you written with any big songwriters here in the Nashville area? And how did you meet them?
Oh man, so I've actually got to write with one of them tomorrow. Lance Carpenter. He wrote. I'm pretty sure it's "Hey Boy" for Kelsey Ballerini. A couple others I can't. My bad, Lance. I can't think of the other ones. But I got to write with him, and I literally we kind of built a mutual like friendship, just seeing each other out and stuff, and I just went up to him one night, being out at Red Door, and said, hey man, I got a song concept I want you to look at. He said, oh man, just shoot it to me over Instagram or whatever, I'll look at it. So I sent it over to him. He's like, man, I had a song I did a couple years back that a couple guys didn't want that fits in with this perfect. Just sit down and see what we can't come up with. So I've got that. But his relationship built from my producer and co-writer on a lot of these songs was Bridget Tatum.
Okay.
For y'all that don't know Bridget Tatum, she wrote She's Country for Jason Aldean, Loud for Big and Rich. I actually ran into her the week that I came to Nashville. The week I came to Nashville, crazy how God works in weird ways, man. I go to a writer's round, and the way a writer's round is supposed to work is you're not supposed to play cover songs. You're supposed to play your music. Like, it's your music, strictly your music. And I come in, and Bridget was playing in front of me, and she's playing like all these hit songs. I'm like, there's no way that girl wrote those, no way. I was like, she's going to play cover songs, I'm going to play cover songs. And sure enough, whenever she got done with She's Country, the guy, Big Vinny, that runs the round goes, oh man, she wrote all these hits, blah, 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 blah. The one and only Bridget Tatum. I went, damn, okay. So I went and introduced myself, and actually, it wasn't until like a year later I sent her a message and was like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like I'm looking for a producer. You have any advice? Like I've kind of been sitting down writing, and, getting my stuff straight, and that's kind of where our relationship built." She said, "Why don't we sit down and like go over some of these songs? I think we could tweak a couple things." So we took, like, Chevy and Daddy was a whole different version of a song that was strictly about my granddad called That Old Chevrolet. So we took a lot of songs, and like Bar Tonight, like I already had I had the entire chorus already written into another song, and we took that chorus out and made it into something else. So it's cool how that molded, but yeah, we didn't find, she's from Florence, South Carolina, so she's like originally from like 30 minutes away from me.
Okay.
We didn't figure that out until like our second or third ride almost. Had no clue that we actually lived within each other, and like I was telling you, my dad, like, we did electrical work back home and stuff like that. Her uncle is actually one of the guys that works at the electrical supply company we go to. Like, just randomly one day she was like, "Yeah, my dad works, or my uncle works here." It's like, "Are you serious?" Like, I go there all the time, so now whenever I go back home, I like make a stop, like, go tell him hey and see what's up with him. But yeah, that's kind of how that relationship molded.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a little girl. What is one thing that you hope to do better than your parents may have done?
That's tough, man. My parents have been good. Honestly, I've stuck with the concept that I hope that I can be half the parent that they are. They've done a good job of, from golf to any sport that I played, man. They were always so supportive. So I honestly don't think I could do any better than they've already done. Yeah.
How does it feel when you see that you had almost 245,000 people stream your music on Spotify last year?
That was crazy. And it's really weird because it didn't get picked up by any major playlist. And, anybody out there that has put me on your playlist, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's those people that discovered the music. And, I kind of went and messaged a couple people that had playlists to like see what they thought, and see if they would, things that companies would do that I didn't have the money to pay for. I was actually trying to do myself, and I've got a couple of them that have been really good. Like anytime I put a single out, like they'll take a listen, maybe throw it on the playlist, maybe not, but it was because of them without, having Spotify put me on, the hot hits or whatever big playlist they have. Like it was cool because it's built itself, like it's done it itself, and it's almost like watching a kid grow. Like I'm sitting back looking at it, and I'm like, man, that's crazy that you're still going like this and you're still getting bigger. Like it's a crazy thing, man. Crazy.
Have you been able to make this your full-time job?
Oh yeah. I do this full time, man. I write music full time. I still do go back home now. I do this. I go back home and work jobs with my dad or help my dad with jobs. And the reason why, like, there's a battery acid plant called Johnson Control. I hate going to it, but when he's got some jobs, I'll go over there. And a lot of the workers have learned that I do this, and like they love my music. Shout out to you guys. And they've asked me, like, why do you come back and do this? Why do you come? Because you got to wear like a full-on, like Michael Myers like looking suit, respirator, like full face respirator, and all this like gear and stuff. And they're like, why do you come back to this place? I'm like, well, I love making a little bit of money, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, this is where I get my song ideas from. This is what I grew up with. That's why Alan Jackson was my king of country, because he came from that blue collar community. So that's where I draw a lot of my my inspiration is from going to work. Like the entire day, I'll sit there and just write little one-liners or lyrics down while I'm there, and then when I get back here, I've got song ideas out of the yin yang by then, So
How often do you go back home?
not as often now. Actually, when I moved up here, I think I went back home 2 times within the first year, and both times happened to be a funeral. That was the only time I went back. But now, I think my parents are kind of transitioning up this way. So
okay.
So now that they're kind of coming up this way, I don't really go back as much. But I would say maybe once in a I'll say once every 2 months or something. Or if I'm playing a gig, like I'll stop back downtown, like just hang out or go play golf with the guys one day if I've got an extra day. But it's probably once every 2 months, unless I'm playing.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I moved from Florida to Georgia, I got a job where I got benefits, and I was going back down to Florida like every couple of months.
Yeah, yeah. This is like one of the moves that, when I went to Myrtle Beach, or when I moved to Hilton Head and stuff, like it was just convenient because I was, 2-3 hours away. I could go straight back home. And being this far away, it was just nice to kind of get out and, get a fresh start and, really, call this place my home now because, everything's just lined up with me so far with the music and just meeting people and making my friends and making my connections. Like everything's just lined up really well. So, it's nice to actually go from here now and go back home because I do get to see the friends I don't get to see anymore, and I do get to communicate with them. I try to stay in touch with them as much as possible, or like if they don't know it, I try my best to check in on them on Facebook or see how my buddy's kids are doing, or see, hey, my buddy's over in Texas now, see how he's doing. Like I try to keep up with everybody as much as I can, but it's tough, man. It's fun. I do miss my hometown a little bit, but yeah, this is kind of my home now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories of when you first moved to Nashville, and what was that like for you?
Dude, so I got a crazy. So this is a crazy story. I think I've only told this in one other interview. So the way I moved up here was, again, I was doing like the pro golf and stuff like that, and music was I was kind of on that teeter zone where I didn't have a lot of guys wanting to write. I didn't have anyone to write with. Like everybody I tried to write with, they didn't want to write, and or we couldn't find time because we were all working and stuff. So I literally I got broken up with 3 times. Long story short, walking out of church. So with golf, the way it works is normally your tournaments are on the weekends. So I didn't get to go to church a whole lot because of golf. So these 3 particular instances when I was dating someone, every time I would happen to have the time to go to church, I would go to church. When I would walk out, I'd get a breakup text. Swear, I cannot make this up. And dude, I finally told my mom, I was like, man, I think God's telling me to get out of this town. I think something's telling me to get out of town. And the plan was actually for me to move to Florida and play another mini tour and live down in Florida for a while. I already had like the house and like all the roommates that also played. Like I had all of it lined up. And I stayed up all night one night researching Nashville. For some reason, just researching Nashville. And I went, well, I'm going to go to sleep. If I feel the same way tomorrow, I'm just going to, I'm going to pack my stuff up. I'm taking off. So I go to breakfast the next day with my dad. And I was like, hey, man, I'm moving. He's like, oh yeah, where are you moving to? And he's thinking I was going to say Florida. And I'm like, man, I'm moving to Nashville. I think I'm going to go write some songs, man. He about spit his coffee. I was like, dude, what? I said, yeah, man. I said, dude, I swear. I said, I don't know why. I said, just trust me on this. I think I need to go to Nashville. I think I need to write music for a living. He said, all right, well, when you leaving? I said, tonight, 2 a.m. I said, if we leave at 2 a.m., I can get there by 10 a.m. I've already got some places I'm looking at. He said, all right, you want to tell anybody? I said, I got a couple friends I call. I said, but let's not tell anybody. I just want to take off. I don't want anyone to change my mind. So we literally, 2 a.m., I told a couple friends, man, I think I had dinner with my buddy Brian, Kendall, Maggie, and Miss Shirley, who's passed away. Love you, Miss Shirley. Had dinner with them, let them know. And then that was the only people that I legit told. Like, it went months by, and friends were like, man, I ain't seen you out in a while. Where you been? I'm like, I'm gone, brother. I'm gone. So, yeah, that's kind of how that went, dude. But crazy, like, moving up here, when I say, like, everything worked out, like, within the first week. Like, I met Bridget, my producer and co-writer. We're like brother and sister, man. We're tight. All of my friends, famous and non-famous, artists and non-artists, like, I met them all within the first week.
Do you have any funny stories from traveling?
Yeah, I got one good one. When I was in college, again, shout out to JP. I hadn't seen him actually since this entire trip, I don't believe. So when I was at Coastal Carolina, we went to Thailand, and I did a study abroad for 2 weeks over there. And so the whole time, me and JP are there, like we would go like out on the, you can like on the corner, you can like drink out there and stuff. So we would go drink. We were like, man, we just want to go to a club. Like we want to go somewhere, like go to a bar or something. And I can't remember what city we were in. We might have been Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai or somewhere, but we were in like this really nice big hotel, and it was like outside the city. So we hear this music bumping one night, like really hardcore. So the next day, I'm like, yo, did you hear that? He's like, yeah, did you hear it? I was like, yeah. I said, there's a club somewhere. We have to find it. We have to find this club. So middle of the day, we go up, and they finally told us where it was at. It was on like the 10th floor or something like that. So we go up there, and it's literally like, I'm not kidding you, it's like a wall with a black door, and it's like bolt locked down and like all this weird, like it's really sketchy. And then there's a room to the right where you could go outside and smoke a cigarette or whatever you want to do. Like, all right, we're going to come back here and just check it out later. Like, all right, sketchy, but we're going to check it out. We come back, and dude, I'm telling you, like 30 of the most beautiful women you've ever seen, like dressed up like they're at a red carpet event. And we, two college kids in t-shirts walk up, baseball caps. We're taller than everybody. I think JP's like 6'4", I'm 6'1", so we're bigger than everybody. So we walk up, and guy couldn't even speak English. We were like, club, he just opened the door. So we walk in this place, and they have all the lights on at the time. We had gotten there right when they opened. So we walk up to the bar, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to sit down at this place. And by the way, like to give you like an idea of how their culture is, like it's rude to tip people over there. So we go to the bar, and a little girl can barely speak English, and she, we ask for a drink menu. She slides us the menu, and it's like their currency is baht, and compared to a baht, a beer was like your typical $4 or $5, but liquor was like $20 and $30 a piece. Man, I'm not paying that much for a liquor drink, and it was all these liquors like we don't even have in the States. It was like Smirnoff Peach and Pineapple Pear, blah, 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 like we had never seen it here. So we both get a beer, we go back out, go smoke a cigarette. By this time, all the women were gone. And me and him were outside talking, we were like, man, like I don't understand. Why would they charge like $20 for a liquor drink? Like that's just freaking insane. Like, we're both like 21, 22 years old. We're like, man, we just don't understand. So all of a sudden, this dude in a suit comes in, and he's got a bottle of liquor. And I looked, and I said, hold up, man, let's finish this beer. Let's go back in here. So we go back in there, and I said, what is this? And I pointed at Smirnoff Pear, I think is what I got. She comes back with a whole bottle of liquor for $20. And I said, that, this much baht, $20? And she's like, yeah. So I was like, I'm getting one. He said, man, I'm getting one too. So he gets one, I get one. Then she brings both of us a bucket of ice to sit it in. Then says, chaser, chaser. I said, I'll take, I don't know, Sprite with that. I don't know, Sprite with that. Or, I think he got like Crown and Coke or something like that for like $20. But whole bottle, by the way. And I'm not talking about like a little tiny bottle. This is a full bottle. So we get that, we pay the girl, and then she says, you pick. And by the way, she's looking at us this direction and pointing. I'm like, what? She said, pick. We turn around, all those girls that were out front are now stripped down into lingerie. And we turn around, and we got to pick a girl, and literally they can't speak a lick of English. The entire night they sat there beside us, didn't talk to us at all, in lingerie in this club. And me and him just sat there, and the entire time, like if our drink got low, they filled it back up for us. I swear, for $20. It was the craziest night ever.
How much was $20 in their currency?
Like, I could be wrong, man. My professor's going to kill me for getting this wrong. I want to say it was like 400 baht, something like that. I could be completely wrong on that. It's like 200 or 400 baht or something like that, but it was like $20. So, I mean, it was crazy because, like, they love American music and they love Americans over there. So the whole time they're like pumping Nelly and 50 Cent music in the back and have the music videos going. And, I mean, it felt just like a club back home at the time. It was the craziest night of my life. It was awesome. But those girls, I swear, did not speak a they didn't speak a lick of English. They sat right there and filled our drinks up the whole night. So, man, we felt like we were millionaires. 2 kids in college in Thailand with 2 Thai girls for $20 filling our liquor drinks up, man. It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.